Hey everybody, this is Marco here. I just wanted to take some time to go over the terminal with you. I know a lot of students run into issues with not knowing how to use the terminal, so I'm going to go ahead and show you a brief overview of how you can operate around your system using it. This is for Windows, of course, that's what I use. Um, so first of all, there's a command that we're going to be using more often than not, and it's called cd. This here, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to move around the file system in your computer. What I like to do before I use this command is use ls, or on some Windows operating systems you have to use the directory command. Either one of those should work on the newest version of Windows 10, which I believe came out in April 2018, so generally you should be fine with using just the ls command, which is what is used in bash terminals. But regardless, a good way to get used to using these commands is to practice. So if I wanted to see what was in my current directory, it may be easier just to remember dir, because it just means it's directory. So if you hit enter after you've typed in directory, you can see all the things that are in the current directory that I'm in, which would be users unset. And it's always going to tell you which directory you're in right here in the terminal window. So since I'm in users unset, you're going to see a lot of different files because this is basically going to be every file on my computer. If you notice here, the top two are 1 and 2 dots, and I'm going to explain what that is. So when you use cd, you can also use 1 or 2 dots to navigate around. cd with a dot would navigate to the current directory, which is kind of weird, but you can do that if you wanted to. And cd with the 2 dots, this is going to allow you to exit out of your current directory into the directory before it. So if I ran the cd command following and have these 2 dots following it, I would be taken out of the unset directory and just into the users directory. And I'm going to show you that as well. So first of all, just because I like to be able to gauge where we're kind of at, that way you can see where these are all at, these icons that I have on my desktop, I'm going to navigate to the desktop. So the way that we would do that is we'd type in the cd command and go to our desktop. I know on Apple systems you have to use the capital in front of desktop because you have to use the exact file name, but on Windows computers you can just use lowercase if you'd like to, and it'll take you right to it, even though you know there's a capital D here. Either way, you can use whichever one on Windows, but like I said, on Apple systems I believe you have to have the capital. It may not work if you're trying to do that with a lowercase. So let's try out the dot and then the 2 dots. First of all, I'm going to use ls or dir, what's in my current directory, which is users unset then desktop. The last one is always the immediate directory that we're in. So we're looking at what's currently in my desktop. I have a couple of things here, a couple of games, some programs that I use, but basically it's everything that you see over here off to the left hand side. One way, these are going to be included in every single directory that you're currently in. But if you want to go to the current directory, you could use the 1 dot. It moves you to the current directory, so it doesn't really serve any purpose right away. So cd dot, the dot just means the current directory. As you can see, we're still in the same directory as we were before, the desktop, and behind it unset users. Now if we wanted to exit out of the desktop and go back to where we started, we would do cd dot dot, no spaces in between. That would move us out of our most current directory and into the directory right before it. So we're back to where we started. We're at the unset inside of the users directory. And then of course if we run dir, you're going to see all of the files basically in my computer. So let's move back into our desktop. And just in case you're wondering, I use the clear command a lot. It just gets rid of whatever is on your display. Makes it a lot cleaner, and I hate seeing all those things jumbled up on there. And then it'll move you immediately to the top. You can always go back and look, but if you don't want to see that again, you can just hit clear. So we're going to move into one of the directories that I have called projects. And so I'm going to cd into projects. And although, like I said, you don't have to have the capital, it's always good practice to remember exactly the casing of your directory names. That way, if you are using someone else's computer or you do switch to a different operating system, it works for you on both operating systems. So once we want to go into this projects folder. So we're using the cd command, and then we're going into projects. So now that we're in projects, we can run dir to see what's in here. You can see that I have some applications that I'm working on in this projects folder. Ran clear so I can get rid of those. So now we're in our projects on our desktop in the unset directory inside of the users directory. So most of these directories are going to be nested. There's a way to hide these with using a different command prompt, but it's always best to use one where you can see them. That way you know where you are, so when you're navigating around your system, you don't run into any issues with trying to figure out which directory you want to be in. So I know that there are a lot of people that think, hey, can I just use cd desktop and go back to my desktop? And you can't. If you try it, it's going to say that the path is not specified. And the reason being is because we're already technically in our desktop. If you notice here, desktop is included in our path because we are inside of the desktop, but we're most currently inside of our projects directory, which, like I said, is inside of the desktop directory. Go into your desktop is to use the two dots like I mentioned before. This will move you out of your most current directory into the previous one. So if you watch here, we'll move from our projects back into our desktop directory. So that was pretty much everything I wanted to cover with you today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or get a hold of me in some way. But I just wanted to go over how to use this command. It's a really important command, and if you're doing any work on servers or if you're doing any work with like JavaScript, this is pretty important to use.